Section 1. Understanding the trap. They're the first thing on your mind when you open your eyes in the morning. The last thought before sleep finally claims you at night. You reach for your phone compulsively, hoping to see their name light up your screen. You dissect past conversations like a detective searching for clues, analyzing tone, timing, every punctuation mark. Their social media becomes your daily newspaper, and you scroll through it like you're studying for an exam you can't afford to fail. You tell yourself, tomorrow will be different. Tomorrow you'll stop checking. Tomorrow you'll move on. But tomorrow comes, and nothing changes. You're not broken. You're not damaged beyond repair. What you're experiencing is one of the most intense psychological experiences a human being can go through. Obsessive emotional attachment. And the reason you can't simply decide to stop isn't because you're weak-willed. It's because your brain has been completely rewired by a sophisticated network of chemical reactions, ancient survival programming, and deeply embedded behavioral loops designed to keep you connected to another person. But here's the truth nobody's telling you. Letting go doesn't mean erasing them from your memory. It's not about pretending they meant nothing. It's about reclaiming your mental space, rewiring your thought patterns, and rebuilding yourself as someone who doesn't require another person to feel complete. By the time you finish reading this, you'll understand the exact psychological machinery keeping you imprisoned in repetitive thinking. You'll have a concrete step-by-step framework for breaking the cycle of rumination and emotional dependence. You'll learn how to restructure your brain for genuine freedom and construct an unshakable identity that exists independent of anyone else's presence or absence. This isn't a quick-fix guide promising you'll forget them in 3 days. This is about fundamental mental and emotional rewiring that will transform how you approach every relationship for the rest of your life. If you're ready to take back ownership of your thoughts and your future, let's dive in. Chapter 1. The hard truth about why you can't let go. The reason you can't stop thinking about them has almost nothing to do with love. I know that's painful to read, but it's the reality you need to confront if you want genuine freedom. What you're experiencing isn't deep romantic connection or soul-level bonding. It's psychological dependency. Your brain literally cannot distinguish between losing someone you're attached to and losing access to a substance you're addicted to. When you form emotional bonds with another person, your brain floods your system with a powerful chemical cocktail: dopamine, norepinephrine, oxytocin. These neurotransmitters generate feelings of euphoria, obsessive focus, and intense connection. When that person becomes unavailable, your brain enters withdrawal mode, desperately craving its next dose. Think about it honestly. When you were around them, how did it feel? Like every cell in your body was vibrating with energy? Like you could take on the world? When they showed you attention, you felt invincible. When they pulled back, you crashed into a darkness you didn't know existed. That's not love. That's chemical dependency. You became dependent on the neurochemical surge they triggered, and now you're experiencing withdrawal symptoms. But it gets more complex. Your addiction isn't purely chemical. It's also behavioral. Every time your mind drifts to them, every time you stalk their Instagram, every time you replay a memory like a movie you've seen 1,000 times, You're strengthening the neural connections that keep you trapped. Your brain builds thicker and thicker pathways to thoughts about this person, making it neurologically impossible to stop thinking about them through sheer willpower. The evolutionary biology behind this is straightforward but ruthless. Thousands of years ago, losing your partner could mean death. You needed them for protection, resources, survival. Your brain developed powerful mechanisms to keep you desperately pursuing reconnection with lost partners. The problem? Your ancient brain doesn't realize it's 2025. It believes losing this person is a survival emergency. So it bombards your system with stress hormones and intrusive thoughts engineered to make you fight for them back. Add to this the modern trap of unpredictable reinforcement. If this person gave you attention sporadically, sometimes warm, sometimes cold, your brain became even more hooked. Slot machine players don't get addicted to winning consistently. They get addicted to the unpredictability of winning. Your brain learned that sometimes this person would deliver the chemical hit you craved, and sometimes they wouldn't. This created the most powerful form of behavioral conditioning known to psychology. Then there's the fantasy attachment. You didn't just become attached to who this person actually was. You became attached to who you imagined they could become, to the potential you glimpsed in rare moments, to the version of them that existed only in your mind's ideal projection. You're not just mourning a real person. You're mourning a fantasy. And fantasies are infinitely harder to release because they can't disappoint you with messy reality. Finally, there's the trauma connection. If this relationship involved emotional roller coasters, intense highs followed by devastating lows, closeness followed by distance, connection followed by rejection, your brain may have formed what psychologists call a trauma bond. These bonds are actually stronger than healthy attachments because they activate your nervous system's survival responses. Your brain becomes convinced that this chaotic, unpredictable person is essential for your continued existence. Understanding these mechanisms is critical because it means your inability to let go isn't a character flaw. It's a normal response to abnormal psychological conditioning. But now that you understand what you're dealing with, you can begin the process of breaking free. Chapter 2. The Hijacked Mind. How Your Brain Became Your Prison. Your brain has turned against you. Every thought, every memory, every desperate fantasy that maybe things could still work out, none of it is random. It's the result of specific neural networks that have been reinforced through repetition and emotional intensity. To break free, you need to understand exactly how your mind became your cage. The default mode network is the part of your brain that activates when you're not focused on any specific task. It's responsible for daydreaming, self-reflection, and mental wandering. In a healthy brain, this network helps you process experiences and imagine future possibilities. In an obsessively attached brain, it becomes a torture device that plays the same thoughts about one person on endless loop. Every time you think about this person, you strengthen what neuroscientists call a neural pathway. Imagine walking through a dense forest. The first time, you barely leave a mark. But if you walk the same route every single day for months, you create a deep, well-worn trail that becomes the easiest path to follow. Your thoughts about this person have carved a superhighway through your brain. Your mind automatically defaults to this route because it's the strongest, most developed pathway available. The anterior cingulate cortex, the part of your brain responsible for detecting conflicts and errors, becomes hyperactive when you're separated from someone you're attached to. It literally interprets the absence of this person as an error that needs correction. This is why you feel like something is fundamentally wrong when they're not in your life. Your brain is screaming that there's a problem demanding immediate solution. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter associated with seeking and desire, floods your system every time you think about them. But here's the cruel twist. Dopamine isn't released when you get what you want. It's released when you anticipate getting what you want. So every time you imagine them texting you, every time you fantasize about reconciliation, every time you hope they'll realize what they lost, you get a small dopamine hit that reinforces your obsessive thinking. The amygdala, your brain's alarm system, perceives their absence as a genuine threat. It triggers fight-or-flight responses that flood your body with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. This is why thinking about them makes your heart race, why you feel physically ill, why sleep becomes impossible. Your body exists in a constant state of red alert, preparing to either fight for this person or flee from the agony of losing them. Working memory, your brain's capacity to hold and manipulate information in conscious awareness, becomes severely compromised. This is why you can't focus on anything else, why you forget appointments, why your work performance suffers. Your working memory is completely occupied by thoughts of this person, leaving zero room for anything else. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for rational thinking and emotional regulation, becomes weakened through chronic stress and emotional overwhelm. This is why you can't think your way out of the obsession. The part of your brain designed for logical analysis and self-control has been hijacked by more primitive survival systems. Memory consolidation during sleep becomes disrupted, but not in the way you'd hope. Instead of helping you forget, sleep actually strengthens emotional memories while weakening neutral ones. So every night, your brain is literally choosing to hold on to memories of this person while releasing everything else. The rumination cycle becomes self-sustaining. You think about them, which makes you feel terrible, which makes you wonder why you feel terrible, which leads to more thoughts about them, which creates more painful feelings, and the cycle continues. Each rotation strengthens the pattern and makes it more automatic. Your brain also develops what psychologists call intrusive thought chains. One tiny trigger, a song, a scent, a location that reminds you of them, can launch an entire cascade of thoughts, memories, and emotions that can consume hours. These chains become so automatic that you're not even aware they're starting until you're already deep in the spiral. The seeking system in your brain, designed to motivate you to search for food, shelter, and mates, becomes laser-focused on this one person. This system is incredibly powerful because it's tied to survival. It doesn't care about your happiness or your logic. It only cares about getting you to pursue what it has identified as essential for your survival. Understanding these mechanisms is the first step toward freedom. Your obsessive thoughts aren't evidence of profound love or spiritual connection. They're the result of specific, identifiable brain processes that can be interrupted and rewired. The key is knowing exactly how to do it. Chapter 3. The Attachment Trap. Why some people become impossible to forget. Not everyone who exits your life creates this level of consuming attachment. There's a specific type of person and a specific type of dynamic that creates the psychological quicksand you're stuck in. Understanding this isn't about assigning blame. It's about recognition. So you can avoid this pattern in the future and understand why your current situation feels impossible to escape. The unavailable person triggers your attachment system far more intensely than someone who is consistently present. Your brain is hardwired to work harder for uncertain rewards. When someone is unpredictable with their attention, affection, and availability, your brain interprets this as a challenge that must be conquered. The uncertainty activates your seeking system and makes you more obsessed, not less. Intermittent reinforcement is the most powerful form of psychological conditioning that exists. It's the same principle that makes gambling addictive. If this person gave you intense connection and attention sometimes, but was distant or unavailable at other times, your brain learned to crave those moments of connection with an intensity that consistent love could never create. The hot and cold dynamic creates what psychologists call anxious attachment activation. When someone is warm and close, your attachment system relaxes. When they become cold or distant, your attachment system goes into overdrive, flooding your brain with stress hormones and obsessive thoughts designed to restore closeness. If this person was consistently hot and cold, your brain learned to exist in a permanent state of attachment anxiety. Emotional peaks and valleys create stronger memories than steady, consistent experiences. The human brain is designed to pay attention to dramatic changes in emotional state because they might signal danger or opportunity. If your relationship was full of intense highs and devastating lows, these experiences are burned into your memory with far greater intensity than a stable, loving relationship would be. The idealization trap occurs when someone shows you just enough of their potential to make you believe you've seen their true self, but not enough. Consistency to prove it's real. You fell in love not with who they actually were, but with who you glimpsed they could be in their best moments. This creates an addiction to potential rather than reality. Future painting is a pattern where someone talks about future plans, dreams, and commitments they have no real intention of following through on. If this person painted vivid pictures of a future together, made promises about changes they would make, or talked about the relationship you could have if only certain conditions were met, your brain became attached to a future that was never real. The trauma bonding effect occurs when someone alternates between being a source of comfort and a source of pain. Your brain becomes confused about whether this person is safe or dangerous, so it creates an incredibly strong bond as a survival mechanism. If you found yourself making excuses for their behavior, feeling like you needed to rescue them, or believing that your love could transform them, you may have formed a trauma bond. Breadcrumbing behavior, where someone gives you just enough attention to keep you hoping, but never enough to feel secure, creates a state of chronic uncertainty that your brain tries to resolve through obsessive thinking. Every small gesture, every brief message, every moment of attention becomes magnified because your brain is desperately searching for signs that this person might become available. The rescuer fantasy is particularly powerful. If this person had struggles, pain, or problems that you felt you could help with, your brain may have become attached to the idea of being their savior. This creates a sense of purpose and meaning that feels larger than romantic attraction. You're not just losing a person, you're losing your identity as someone who could save them. Shared intensity or profound experiences create powerful bonding. If you went through significant challenges together, shared deep vulnerabilities, or experienced intense emotions in each other's presence, your brain may have formed what feels like a soul-deep connection. These bonds feel more significant than regular relationships because they involve shared survival experiences. The scarcity principle makes anything that's hard to obtain seem more valuable. If this person was selective with their attention, difficult to pin down, or had many other options, your brain interpreted their attention as more precious than someone who was consistently available. You became attached not just to them, but to the feeling of being chosen by someone who rarely chooses anyone. Projection and fantasy amplification occur when you project your own capacity for depth, loyalty, and love onto someone who hasn't consistently demonstrated those qualities. You assume they feel as deeply as you do, that they're as affected by the connection as you are, that they're just scared or confused rather than genuinely disinterested. Understanding these dynamics helps you realize that your intense attachment wasn't necessarily based on a genuine mutual connection. It was based on psychological patterns that create artificial intensity and obsessive bonding. This person became impossible to forget, not because they were perfect for you, but because they triggered specific psychological vulnerabilities that made you feel like you needed them to survive. Chapter 4. The Hidden Cost. What this obsession is stealing from your life. While you've been lost in thoughts about this person, your actual life has been slipping through your fingers. The cost of obsessive attachment isn't just emotional pain. It's the systematic destruction of your potential, your opportunities, your relationships, and your sense of self. If you want to break free, you need to face the full scope of what this obsession is costing you. Your cognitive capacity is being hijacked. The human brain has limited processing power. When a significant portion is dedicated to thinking about one person, everything else suffers. You're not performing at work the way you used to. You're making mistakes you wouldn't normally make. You're forgetting important commitments, missing opportunities, and operating at a fraction of your intellectual capacity because your mind is elsewhere. Sleep quality deteriorates under the weight of obsessive thinking. You lie awake, replaying conversations, imagining scenarios, checking your phone for messages that never arrive. When you finally do fall asleep, your dreams are consumed by them. You wake up exhausted, not from physical exertion, but from the emotional marathon your mind runs every night. Chronic sleep deprivation affects everything, from your immune system to your emotional regulation. Your social connections are withering. Friends grow tired of hearing about the same person over and over. You cancel plans because you're hoping they might reach out. You turn down social opportunities because you're afraid of missing their call or message. You become emotionally unavailable to the people who actually care about you because you're reserving all your emotional energy for someone who isn't even present in your life. Physical health begins to decline under chronic stress. Your immune system weakens from the constant flood of stress hormones. You might develop headaches, digestive issues, muscle tension, or other physical symptoms directly related to your emotional state. You stop taking care of yourself properly, skipping meals, avoiding exercise, neglecting basic self-care because you're too preoccupied to focus on your own well-being. Professional opportunities slip by, unnoticed, while you're checking your phone every 5 minutes, hoping for a message. You're missing emails from potential employers, clients, or collaborators. You're not networking effectively because you can't focus on conversations with other people. You're not pursuing career advancement because you don't have the mental energy to invest in your own growth. Creative and intellectual growth stagnates when your mind is occupied by repetitive thoughts about one person. You don't have space for new ideas, creative projects, or intellectual exploration. Books go unread. Skills go undeveloped. Passions are abandoned because you can't concentrate on anything that doesn't relate to your obsession. Decision-making abilities become compromised. You second-guess yourself constantly, not just about the relationship, but about everything. The uncertainty and rumination spill over into every area of your life. You become indecisive about career moves, living situations, financial decisions, and other important choices because your brain is stuck in analysis paralysis mode. Self-esteem erodes gradually. Every day that passes without contact from them feels like confirmation that you're not valuable enough, not interesting enough, not worthy of love. You begin to internalize rejection as evidence of your own inadequacy, rather than recognizing it as incompatibility or their own limitations. Future relationships become poisoned by comparison. Even when you do meet someone new, you can't be present with them because you're constantly comparing them to your obsession. You sabotage potential connections because nobody can compete with the idealized version of someone you've created in your mind. Financial resources may be wasted on attempts to get their attention or maintain connections to them. You might find yourself spending money on things you think they'd like, on gifts you never give them, on activities you think might interest them, or on maintaining appearances in case you run into them. Personal goals and dreams are put on indefinite hold. That trip you wanted to take, that degree you wanted to pursue, that business you wanted to start, that hobby you wanted to develop. Everything waits while you remain emotionally unavailable to your own life. Years can pass this way, with your actual dreams gathering dust while you chase a fantasy. Emotional regulation skills deteriorate. You become reactive to small triggers, moody and unpredictable in your other relationships, unable to manage normal stress and challenges because all your emotional resources are being drained by your obsession. Your identity becomes completely wrapped up in thoughts of this other person. You lose touch with who you were before them, what you wanted before them, what made you happy before them. Your sense of self becomes so dependent on them that you forget you ever existed as a complete person without them. Time, your most precious and non-renewable resource, is being squandered on thoughts that serve no purpose except to keep you trapped in pain. Every hour spent ruminating, analyzing, hoping, and waiting is an hour you'll never get back. An hour that could have been spent building the life you actually want. This isn't sustainable. Your life is happening now, not in some imaginary future where they come back and everything works out perfectly. Every day you spend trapped in obsessive thoughts about someone who isn't thinking about you is a day stolen from your actual existence. The cost is too high, and it's time to start calculating what you've lost so you can begin the process of getting your life back. Chapter 8. Rewiring your neural pathways. Your brain has created superhighways connecting triggers to thoughts about them. Every song, scent, or random moment activates the neural network tied to this person. Breaking free means understanding how to weaken these automatic connections and build new pathways. Neuroplasticity proves these pathways aren't permanent. They're like hiking trails worn deep through repetition. The good news? Trails can be abandoned. New ones can be created. But it requires deliberate, consistent effort. The competing pathways strategy builds new neural connections that compete with old ones. If a song triggers thoughts of them, deliberately listen while doing something physically demanding. Over time, your brain associates the song with the new activity instead. Pattern interrupts disrupt the automatic sequence from trigger to obsession. When a trigger appears, immediately do something completely different. Jumping jacks, call a friend, start a task. The key is speed. Interrupt before the pattern gains momentum. Cognitive load training overloads your working memory when intrusive thoughts appear. Count backwards from 200 by 7 seconds. Name cities starting with M. Visualize rearranging furniture. This leaves no mental space for rumination. Understanding that neural change takes months, not days, helps maintain motivation. Every time you successfully redirect attention, you weaken old pathways while strengthening new ones. The goal isn't never thinking about them, it's transforming compulsive thinking into conscious choice. Chapter 9. Rebuilding your individual identity. You can't remember who you were before them. This chapter is about becoming complete again. Start with archaeological work. Dig through who you became for them to rediscover who you actually are. Write down everything about yourself before them. Your interests, goals, music, friends, values, pride points. Values clarification identifies what matters when you strip away what you changed to please them. Common values: freedom, creativity, adventure, connection, growth, authenticity. Clear values make decisions easier. Reconnect with abandoned interests. List everything you enjoyed before this relationship. Pick one. Commit 1 hour this week. Motivation often returns once you start. The friend audit identifies neglected relationships. Reach out. Apologize for absence. Rebuild connections. People who knew you before help you remember who you are. Set new goals unrelated to romance. Career advancement, creative projects, physical challenges, new skills. Choose what excites you personally, not what impresses others. The Solo Experience Challenge develops comfort in your own company. Movies alone, restaurants alone, travel alone, events alone. Learning to enjoy solitude is essential for healthy future relationships. Boundary setting practice maintains identity in all relationships. Say no to misaligned requests. Express respectful disagreement. Maintain interests others don't share. Identity development is ongoing. The goal isn't becoming fixed and unchanging, it's becoming someone who adapts while maintaining a strong self, someone who enters relationships without losing themselves. Chapter 10. Emotional Regulation. Mastery. The deepest letting go means managing your inner state without depending on another person for stability. Emotions are temporary reactions. Emotional states are underlying patterns determining which emotions arise and how intensely. Your baseline state right now: anxiety, longing, instability. Regulation means shifting from reactivity to stability. Your nervous system stays stuck in fight or flight mode. Shifting requires specific practices: deep breathing with long exhales, progressive muscle relaxation, cold exposure, regular exercise. Emotional granularity develops sophisticated vocabulary beyond bad or sad. Identify specific emotions: grief, disappointment, anxiety, shame, anger, loneliness, fear, overwhelm. You can't regulate what you can't identify. Container visualization manages overwhelming feelings. Imagine placing intense emotions in a strong container. You're not denying them. You're containing them so they don't flood your system. Emotional surfing rides waves instead of fighting them. Emotions arise, peak, subside naturally if you don't interfere. Observe with curiosity how they feel, how they change, how they pass. The opposite action technique: if sad and want to isolate, connect with others. If desperate to contact them, engage in self-care instead. This breaks cycles of emotions leading to reinforcing actions. Self-soothing toolkit includes strategies for each sense: beautiful images, calming music, soft textures, herbal tea, essential oils. Having predetermined strategies makes implementation easier when dysregulated. Emotional regulation is a skill improving with practice. The goal isn't constant happiness or never thinking about them. It's developing resilience so your well-being isn't controlled by whether they text back or want you. You become someone whose emotional stability is based on your relationship with yourself, not anyone else. Chapter 11. When they come back. One of the most challenging situations is when they suddenly reappear. Their return can trigger all the attachment feelings you've been healing. The return pattern is common. Just as you're healing, they sense the shift in your energy and become curious. This isn't necessarily genuine interest. It might be ego validation or keeping you as a backup option. Recognize the difference. Genuine interest involves direct communication about rebuilding, acknowledgement of past problems, evidence of growth, and respect for your healing. Ego validation involves vague messages, contact when they need something, no acknowledgement of pain caused, and expecting things to return to how they were. Implement the 24-hour response rule before replying. Their message triggered intense emotions. Responding while activated leads to regret. Take a full day to process emotions and decide what response aligns with your healing. Protect your progress by continuing all healing practices even more rigorously. Double down on self-care, maintain support system contact, stick to goals, Pay extra attention to emotional regulation. Set clear boundaries before any interaction. Limit communication to specific topics. Require time between messages. Meet only in public if at all. Be clear about acceptable behavior. The ultimate test of healing isn't whether they come back. It's whether you can handle their return or permanent absence with equal emotional stability. True freedom means being genuinely okay, either way. Chapter 12. Building new relationships. After obsessive attachment, opening your heart to someone new feels terrifying. But isolation isn't the answer. Learning to love healthily is the ultimate demonstration of healing. Secure attachment foundation must be built within yourself first. This means feeling fundamentally safe in relationships, trusting you can handle whatever happens, maintaining your sense of self even when deeply connected. Red flag. Recognition is crucial. Emotionally unavailable people, inconsistent communication, unresolved trauma they're not addressing, addiction or mental health issues they're not managing, drama and uncertainty creation. These patterns feel familiar and exciting to anxious attachment, but they're recipes for another obsessive cycle. Green flag identification, direct, honest communication, consistency between words and actions, own interests and friendships, ability to discuss difficult topics without defensiveness, genuine interest in your thoughts and feelings, demonstrated emotional regulation. The pacing strategy takes relationships slowly enough to make conscious decisions rather than being swept away. Limit contact early, maintain activities and friendships. Take time to evaluate compatibility before intimacy. Maintain individual identity within relationships through conscious effort and clear boundaries. Continue pursuing interests. Maintain friendships. Keep your living space. Make decisions based on your values, not just what works for the relationship. Remember, you survived your previous attachment loss and can survive anything in future relationships. This knowledge gives you confidence to love fully, without desperate clinging. You can handle heartbreak, which paradoxically makes you more attractive and more capable of genuine intimacy. Chapter 13. Creating a life they can't compete with. The ultimate victory isn't just letting go. It's building a life so fulfilling that no relationship loss could devastate you again. The life audit evaluates every area honestly: career satisfaction, physical health, mental health, social relationships, financial security, creative expression, personal growth, spiritual connection, contribution to others. This reveals where you've neglected your life while obsessing. Vision creation goes beyond goals to imagining the person you want to become in vivid detail. Where would you live? What work would you do? How would you spend time? Who would be in your life? What would make you proud? This vision becomes your North Star. Energy investment means putting time and attention into areas that compound and grow rather than drain you. Obsessing is pure drain with no return. Building skills, relationships, health, meaningful work provides exponential returns. Career acceleration, physical transformation, social network expansion, creative expression, financial independence, adventure accumulation, skill mastery, simultaneously improving multiple areas, creates momentum that accelerates growth exponentially. The magnetic effect occurs when you're genuinely happy and fulfilled. People are drawn to those radiating contentment. Paradoxically, the less you need someone to complete you, the more attractive you become. But this comes from authentic fulfillment, not desperate need. Creating a life they can't compete with means building something so meaningful that even if they returned wanting to resume the relationship, you'd seriously consider whether it would add value to the life you've created. Chapter 14 and 15, The Transformed Life. The journey transforms who you are. You've developed emotional strength you didn't know you possessed, learned to love yourself in ways you never thought possible, discovered your worth doesn't depend on being chosen. Your relationship with solitude has changed. Where you once feared being alone, you now enjoy your own company. Solitude has become space for reflection, creativity, and peace. The authentic self you've uncovered is more interesting and attractive than who you were trying to be for their approval. You've stopped contorting yourself to fit what you thought others wanted. Your definition of love has evolved from desperate attachment to conscious choice. You understand the difference between love and obsession, caring and clinging, intimacy and codependency. The resilience you've built extends beyond romance. Having survived complete dissolution of your sense of self and rebuilt stronger, you know you can handle whatever life brings. Most profoundly, you've learned to be the source of your own validation, security, and love. You no longer need someone else to make you feel worthy or complete because you provide these for yourself. Looking back, the person you were obsessively attached to wasn't actually the love of your life. The love of your life is the relationship you've built with yourself. Every other relationship going forward will be an addition to this foundation rather than a replacement for it. This is your new beginning. The pain was the gateway to becoming who you were meant to be. You are free. You are whole. You are ready. Your new beginning. You started this journey trapped in an endless loop of obsessive thoughts, convinced you'd never feel whole without them. Every morning began with their name on your lips. Every night ended with tears on your pillow. You believed the pain would last forever, that you were uniquely broken, that moving on was impossible. You checked your phone compulsively, hoping for messages that never came. You replayed conversations like a detective searching for hidden meanings. You stalked their social media like it held the answers to your suffering. You told yourself tomorrow would be different, but tomorrow never was. But here's what you've discovered through this journey. You were never broken. You were experiencing one of the most powerful psychological phenomena humans can face, and you survived it. The transformation you've undergone isn't just about letting go of one person, it's about fundamentally rewiring how you relate to yourself, to others, to love itself. You've learned that attachment isn't love, that obsession isn't devotion, that chemical dependency masquerading as romance isn't the fairy tale you deserve. You've learned that needing someone and choosing someone are entirely different experiences. That desperation and love cannot coexist in the same space. That genuine intimacy requires two whole people, not two halves, desperately trying to merge into one. You've rebuilt your identity from the ground up. You've excavated the authentic self that got buried under layers of codependency and people-pleasing. You've learned to regulate your emotions without external validation, to find peace in your own company, to celebrate your achievements without needing someone else's applause. You've rewired your neural pathways, transforming automatic compulsive thinking into conscious, voluntary thought. You've learned to surf emotional waves instead of drowning in them. You've discovered that triggers lose their power when you stop feeding them with engagement. You've created a life so rich and meaningful that no single person's presence or absence can threaten your foundation. Your worth isn't determined by who chooses you. It's inherent in your existence as a unique, unrepeatable human being. The person you've become through this process is someone you genuinely respect and admire. Someone who can love deeply without losing themselves. Someone who can be alone without being lonely. Someone whose happiness doesn't depend on whether someone texts back or shows up or chooses them. This is true freedom. The beautiful irony, the moment you stopped needing them to feel complete is the moment you became capable of genuine love. Not the desperate, clinging attachment you experienced before, but conscious, healthy, empowering love that enhances life rather than consumes it. You've learned the most important lesson of all. The love of your life isn't the person you couldn't stop thinking about. It's the relationship you've built with yourself. Everything else is just addition, not completion. You are whole. You are free. You are ready. Welcome to the rest of your beautiful life.